Newsflash, asshole! I've been hearing it the entire goddamn time!
Then why wouldn't you say something?
Because I hate you! Oh my god.
Okay, tell me that clip doesn't express for you the way most of the world feels right now. It's like some weird collective cultural blind rage. I mean, that's the face of the angry Facebook commenter. That's the person you picture when you read that obnoxious tweet. You know I'm not exaggerating. There's so much hate, divisiveness, tribalism, mudslinging, name-calling, bigotry, ignorance. I'm sure there's been a fist fight or two over which CSI is the best one. For some reason. It's in the news, politics, social media, your favorite TV show, your least favorite TV show. It's so bad that maybe even your pets are picking up on it. I'm pretty sure mine are. The worst part of it all is that feeling of isolation. You're so afraid you might say, think, or do the wrong thing that you start to censor yourself. It's hard enough when it's the world at large you're concerned about, but when it's people you admire, loved ones like friends or family, the last thing you want is for them to think of you as one of those. You know that feeling. It's like when you were a kid and your parents put your least favorite dish in front of you for dinner. You scrunched up your face and turned your nose up at it. You don't want to be that dish. No one does. So, while we may create a lot of loose connections with people who have a lot of the same ideals, opinions, and worldview as we do, makes sense, it's a lot more comfortable, the much deeper connections and relationships that we have with the people we love start to fall by the wayside. We're driven in that direction because as a society, we're starting to lose the basic fundamentals of respect and dignity, kindness and understanding. Why is this happening? What's behind all of this? And how does this gradual decline of basic fundamentals affect humanity? Well, I believe this is happening because politicians, media, special interests, even the pressures and demands of a 24/7 society have conspired to pit humanity against itself. Politicians, for instance, have figured out how to divide and conquer their constituents, so, instead of representing us, they figured out how to get us to represent them. We jump on their bandwagons, and when friends and family and other loved ones don't, we shun them because they're not part of our tribe. And when you're the one who's shunned, that just drives you deeper into your own tribe. The one that appears to accept you for who you are. When in truth, you're often just a means to an end. We're so polarized that there's no longer a middle ground, which means there's no room for debate, no room for discussion. Anyone who falls out of line with the accepted political narrative is just canceled as a result. Meanwhile, the media knows that if they want to make money, they've got to hold your attention. So they have to speak to your pre-existing biases. This confirmation bias keeps you more glued to their channel, their platform, their programs, thereby making them more and more money. They essentially tell you what you want or what you expect to hear, sometimes with half-truths and sometimes with blatant lies. The news is no longer news, it's entertainment. You're told how to think and feel about the other side, which just further divides us and gives more power to politicians and special interests. And all of this is made more easier for those in power because, generally speaking, we've become a 24/7 society. There's more coming at us all the time, more demands, more responsibilities, more requirements just to get by. Adulting is hard. In fact, there doesn't seem to be enough time in the day to do all the things that are expected of us. So, something's got to give, right? It's way easier and takes way less time to just tick all your political party's boxes in the voting booth. Easier to paint others with a broad brush that just lets you push them aside and not even have to deal with them. Easier to watch your news program of choice because it doesn't make you burn energy by questioning your own beliefs or questioning the world around you. It even emboldens your resolve to toss all those other idiots into a bin. All of these things have come together to virtually erase all complexity from the world. Now everyone you know, and especially those you don't, can just be labeled and categorized with one word. Now everyone is a monolith. Now everything is a simple this or that game. You don't even have to really think about whether or not you're this or that. By this point, you've come to the table a fully formed member of one or the other. People who want to control you know this. It's part of what makes things so much easier for them. I don't think they planned it this way, but they've certainly figured out how to use it. You can see where this is heading, and I'm pretty sure I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. Well, of course you do. You deal with it on a daily basis. So then, what's the solution? In a world that's constantly trying to get you to pick a side, what do you do? With all of these forces trying to control you, what power could you possibly have to stop them? When I started Jots years ago, my intention was to just journal my experiences as a new follower of Christ. A Christian noob, as I like to say. I came to my faith the long way. A lot of deep thought, analysis, plenty of nudges from God, and a lot of coffee. I wanted to boil all of this down into the essence of what I felt my relationship with Jesus was, or what it was going to be. Strip away the dogmas, the ceremonies, the rules, all of that stuff that can be pretty intimidating to a noob. Get right down to the basic message and purpose. Once I had that, I knew I'd have a pretty strong foundation to build everything else. Or better yet, to make sense of everything else. Well, I believe that foundation to come from what Jesus considered to be the greatest commandment. Love the Lord your God with all your heart. Love your neighbor as yourself. If there's nothing else you take from the Bible, take that. We are literally commanded to love. And not fairy tale love, not hopeless romantic love, not love for CSI, definitely. I'm talking about something much deeper and much more powerful. I'm talking about the kind of love that God is, the kind of love that God has for all of us. Equal, unconditional, permanent. God has that kind of love for us, not just because he made us. He has that kind of love for us because he knows us better than we know ourselves. You've heard that before, right? Knowledge. That's the key. Knowledge is what leads to love. You can't know someone that deeply and that intensely and not also love them. And when you know and love someone that deeply and intensely, the way that God does, after a while you start to want for that person, even when those wants seem counter to your own. That's not only how real compromise happens, that's how each human being builds stronger bonds of love and understanding with other human beings, regardless what those other human beings believe. And the way to accomplish this is through compassion. Compassion is how you get to know someone. Compassion is how you get to understand someone. Compassion is how you get to love someone. It's not about agreement. It's not about agreeing with other people's decisions or conclusions or even their way of life. Compassion is literally about acknowledging that every human being was born a blank slate, that things have happened in their lives to bring them to where they are right now, to draw the conclusions that they've made, that the path they've walked is entirely different from your own, and therefore it's completely unreasonable to expect them to see the world the way you see it. It's not tolerance. Tolerance is, by its nature, dismissive. It's not empathy. Empathy is very often not something you choose to feel. It's passive. It doesn't know, and it's nowhere near as comprehensive. Compassion, by contrast, is something you actively participate in. It's something you purposefully do. It's a choice, which by extension means that love is a choice. Yes, it takes time, it takes patience, and it takes a lot of work. Why do you think most people aren't bothering with it? But the good news is I'm trying my damnedest to make it easy, or easier. I'm constantly publishing content about what I think are the best methods to understanding and implementing compassion. I've collected some of the best articles right here on this page, and beyond that, nearly all of my God Jots have roots in some of the same principles. How properly knowing and loving yourself paves the way to properly knowing and loving others. Or how an offending remark is actually the beginning of a new conversation centered around compassion. I'm not a trained theologian. I've never been to seminary. I'm not a consistent churchgoer. And I certainly don't know everything there is to know about God and Jesus. What I do know is that God loves each of us equally, unconditionally, no matter who we are, what we've experienced, what we've done, good or bad. And that in order to fulfill that greatest commandment, and in so doing eradicate hate, bigotry, ignorance, and injustice, repair old relationships, and create all new ones, we need to learn how to see, know, and love others the same way. This is not only how we restore the basic fundamentals of respect and dignity, kindness and understanding to humanity. This is how we each begin walking a path to a more fulfilled life. This is part of our purpose. This is part of why we're here. And it's how you take the power back from those who want to control you. It's how you give it back to others. So if you weren't sure where to begin with God Jots, I highly recommend you click on the link in the video info. Comment, share, implement what you learn, and then subscribe to the mail list for updates, exclusives, and other bonus content. And you can always contact me personally and pick my brain, although I don't always know what's going to come out of there. With the world seemingly falling apart all around us, now is the time to do the work we've been sent here to do. Now is the time for the world to experience the transformative power of compassion. So let's get started. I'm sure we'll talk soon. God bless.